Hello everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. Today I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you might want to buy the Lexus LX compared to the Lexus GX, which is a smaller and cheaper version, and also give you 5 reasons why you might want to instead buy the Lexus GX instead of the more expensive LX. So let's go. So the first reason why you might want to buy the new Lexus LX 600 instead of the current Lexus GX is very simple. The LX is all new for this year. It has the latest safety and technology advancements, and it is brand new from inside and out. And you get all of the latest equipment and advanced features, including some of the most amazing safety features such as autonomous / hands-free driving mode during the cruise control, which I just tried yesterday on a long drive to the Vancouver Island from Vancouver, where I drove almost hands-free, although you do have to obviously put some weight on the steering to let you know that you are paying attention to the actual vehicle and the road. Otherwise, this thing has much more equipment and features for the dollar than the older Lexus GX, which does have pretty good safety features, but it's not anywhere as up-to-date or as modern as the all-new Lexus LX. The second reason why you want to buy the LX versus the GX is the size and the roominess of the LX. This one has plenty of space both inside and also cargo space, especially the third row seat is much more comfortable than the GX, which is designed for Asian market. So that GX, especially because it's an older model, it's a bit narrow and tall, and obviously the third row seat is not very good. On the other hand, the LX has plenty of space. The front seats are very comfortable. The second seats are reasonably good, and especially the third seat is reasonably comfortable. So the LX is bigger, roomier, more practical, and more comfortable than the GX, and that's my second reason. The third reason why I really do like the Lexus LX, even when compared to GX, is the interior. For this year, they really made a vast improvement in terms of design, in terms of aesthetics, and obviously the comfort of the new Lexus LX. Look at the beautiful design in terms of the stitching. The diamond stitching is also on the side of the seats as well. And even though I'm not too crazy about the split infotainment system in the front, in terms of the overall design, it's beautiful, especially the back one. This one has a special executive seating program. So the back end of the seats recline all the way like a first-class cabin in the airplane, and therefore it's extraordinarily beautiful and comfortable and very executive. And I had passenger in the back for a very long drive this past few days to and from a number of different locations, and they absolutely love the interior. Massage chair, cooling seats, full control of the audio, and also HVAC in the back. This is the car you want to sit in the back if you are going for a long drive and someone else is driving for you. And that is not quite the case with the GX, which is more designed for a primary transportation vehicle as opposed to a chauffeur-driven vehicle. And therefore, even though that car has a very comfortable back seat, you're not going to get this kind of a special executive seating, which is very special for LX for this year. So this is something that is very much a Lexus LX thing, and I really like that about that. Although you will have to pay a premium to get this special seating and the luxury features, the LX is still very special compared to GX in that regard. The fourth reason to buy the LX over the GX is a little bit controversial because you get a 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6 with the new LX now because the V8 is gone, whereas the GX, being an older model, still has a good old-fashioned, proven, and a beautiful V8 engine. However, the LX's twin-turbo V6 is much more efficient in terms of fuel economy, and even has a better acceleration because the turbo kicks in much earlier in terms of the torque curve compared to something like GX, which has a naturally aspirated engine. Yes, I do prefer the feel of a V8 engine, obviously, but when it comes to efficiency and practicality and in terms of range of the drive, there's nothing that will beat the 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6. The fifth and the final reason to buy the LX is the fact that this is the all-new model and it's going to be around for many, many years. If history repeats itself, the LX could be around in its present format for the next 13 to 14 years, which means you don't have to worry about this car being outdated and looking outdated for several years to come. Whereas the GX is at the end of its life cycle because the new model is about to come out in a year or a year and a half, and I have some rendering for that as well. And therefore the current model could look pretty outdated in a very short time. So if you're one of those people who like flagship model of Lexus and you want to look fresh and updated and you don't want to be seeing in an older generation model, obviously LX is the way to go. Now keep in mind that this does not come in hybrid version yet. I suspect that maybe in a year or 2 years, Lexus will introduce the hybrid version of the 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6, which is currently used in the Tundra and the new Sequoia, and therefore I would say maybe it's worth waiting for that model because it has so much more power and torque without sacrificing fuel efficiency. So if you really want to buy the LX and keep it for a very long time, I would wait for a hybrid. But other than that reason, I think the LX is just simply a more up-to-date version and therefore worth buying over the GX despite a much higher price tag. So those are the 5 reasons to buy the Lexus LX over the current GX. Now, what about for those people who still want to buy the Lexus GX? Well, I have a good news for you because I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you might actually want to buy the older GX instead of buying the new LX. So let's talk about that right now. So now let's switch gears and talk about the Lexus GX compared to LX and the reason why you might want to buy the GX over this one. Well, many of you guys will remember that I actually owned a number of Lexus GX in the past, and I really loved it. It's one of the most beautiful SUVs out there, and I'm tempted to buy the last year of the GX, which is 2023, and keeping that for a long time just because I love the V8 engine. So here are 5 reasons why someone like myself might still buy the GX over the LX. The first reason to buy the GX over the LX is the beautiful V8 engine, as I mentioned. That engine is absolutely classic engine, and we will never see that again because Lexus and Toyota are phasing out all of the V8 engine and some of the V6 engine down the road. So if you love the old-fashioned, traditional but proven V8 engine, you definitely want to buy the Lexus GX instead of LX because the V8 is gone from LX and it's never coming back again. It's a bit of a sad story, but just the way it is these days. And even the GX will lose the V8 engine when the new version comes out in about a year to year and a half as a 2024 model. I'm almost 100% sure that new generation Lexus GX will have a detuned version of the 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6 from this Lexus LX. So again, if you want to buy the V8, this is the last year to buy it. It's an amazing engine. Maybe it's not quite as fast in terms of 0 to 60 compared to a twin-turbo V6, but it's just a joy to drive. It has a really good smooth feel, and no matter what people say, there's nothing that replaces displacement, and therefore the V8 is still a more interesting engine even though it's less fuel efficient than the twin-turbo V6. So that's the first reason to buy the GX. The second reason to buy the GX over the LX might surprise you, and that is because I believe the Lexus GX is slightly better built than the LX, even though this is a flagship model, because for a couple of reasons. One, the GX has been around for many years, so it's almost perfect in terms of body alignment, body gaps, and the paint finish and the interior finish. There's not a single flaw you can find in a new GX, and because it's built by a number of Takumi specialists in TAHARA factory, that thing is absolutely bulletproof and it's just beautifully made. Keep in mind that almost all Lexus is built in TAHARA factory, which I think is the #1 factory in the world. Now compare that to the LX, which is actually built in Yoshiwara factory, which is slightly more specialized operation compared to TAHARA factory. And even though the two are comparable, I still think that models built in TAHARA is better just because there are more Takumi specialists who has more than 35 years of experience working at TAHARA compared to Yoshiwara. And also because this is an all-new model, there are always going to be a little bit more of issues in terms of quality control in the beginning compared to GX, which has been around for a long time. So I'm hearing from Japan, for example, that there is some quality issues to do with the new LX, although minor, such as squeaks and rattles and some parts not fitting in. And those things will all be taken care of over the next couple of years, and you'll be probably close to perfect in 2 to 3 years' time. But for now, the GX is better built than LX. One, because TAHARA factory, I think, is better factory than Yoshiwara, but also two, because GX has been around for a very long time and everything has been worked out compared to all new LX. So that's another reason to buy the GX over the current LX. The third reason might also surprise you a bit, and also something that you might not be aware, because Lexus GX, being an old-fashioned older model, still uses hydraulic steering versus new EPS or electric power steering in the Lexus LX. What does that mean? Well, the GX has a much more feel in terms of steering coming from the road. So you get better feedback into your hands, a much better steering feel when you turn left and right. And overall, it's just a more spirited feel and a more connected feel. You just cannot replicate that using EPS or electric power steering because the entire mechanism is different. The old-fashioned version uses hydraulic motor pump to give you the power assist versus the electric motor in these new models, and there's nothing that the engineer can do to make it exactly the same as hydraulic power steering. Now, I will say that the Lexus LX has a pretty precise and accurate steering, so there's nothing wrong with that, but it is a bit floaty and softer and a little bit more numb compared to GX, which has a very solid feel. And that's why so many people love the Lexus GX when they drive it, and they don't quite know why, but it is to do with the fact that the GX is using hydraulic power steering versus electric power steering. The only reason why car companies is switching to EPS is simply because it's more fuel efficient this way compared to hydraulic, and there's more advanced features you can squeeze in terms of safety features. So there is a reason for that. But I really love the feel of the GX on the road, and whether you like it or not, the LX is definitely a softer, more numb feel, and therefore it doesn't feel the same, and that's why I like the GX better than the LX when it comes to driving on the road. And the fourth reason is related to the third reason, and that is not just the steering feel, but the entire GX feels a little bit sportier and a bit more planted than the LX. Obviously, first and foremost, the LX is designed to be a chauffeur-driven vehicle with passengers in the back. So overall, it's going to feel very comfortable, softer, refined, but it just isn't fun to drive on the road. I will say it tracks well and the steering is pretty accurate, but I cannot say with my heart that the LX is fun to drive compared to GX, which simply have a more spirited feeling all around. And even though it's tall and a bit narrow and a little bit loose in terms of suspension, it's just a more engaging vehicle to drive. Now, that thing is not a sports car by any means, and clearly it cannot handle corners very well. But in the daily city driving or even the highway driving, most drivers are going to enjoy the ride and the feel of the GX compared to LX. Now, this LX has air suspension and you can change the mode and make it tighter, but I think the calibration is a bit off on this model. They need to work on it because as you change the driving mode, it gets way too firm and it gets really bumpy. And even the passengers have commented that when you put it in sport mode or sport plus mode, it just feels a little bit too firm. So that's something that engineers have to work on in terms of LX, but the GX is perfect. The fifth and the final reason why the GX might be the right car for you compared to LX is simply because it's quite a bit cheaper than LX, especially when you begin to put the more executive package in the LX, it gets way too expensive. I don't know that if it's worth that much money in terms of the difference in driving character compared to GX, even though you get so much more features and more space in the LX. I think GX is a bit of a bargain price model right now, simply because it's an older version and therefore they are keeping the price very reasonable. Perhaps when the new model comes out in a year to year and a half, they might bump up the price quite a bit, but until such time, you can enjoy this beautiful GX with the V8 engine at a very reasonable price. In fact, I was thinking of buying the Sequoia after my Tundra TRD Pro, but the Sequoia is going to be about the same price as a brand new GX. I keep asking myself, why buy the Sequoia if I can buy the GX for the same price? Although I do realize the Sequoia has much more space and it's more practical. And for at least 2023 model year, which is the last year for GX, you can buy that GX for a good price and good value. And I might even add that the resale value could be maintained quite well on the GX because it's the last year of the V8 engine GX model. So those are the 5 reasons I just gave you to buy the Lexus GX, which is the older version of the Lexus model, compared to the all-new Lexus LX. What do you think? Which one do you prefer? And if money is no object, which one would you buy? I wrestle with that quite a bit. I have a deposit on the new Lexus LX. It might take a few years to show up, but in the meantime, I might buy the GX because I simply love that model. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts in terms of GX versus LX or anything else to do with Toyota Lexus model, because I really appreciate your comments. If you can also give me a thumbs up and subscribe, that would be truly appreciated. But until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.